everybody, I wanted to give a quick review of all three of the Magnificent Seven films that I watched this week. And I wanted to tell you what I think about the Magnificent Seven, the 1960 version, whether it should be included in the National Film Registry. I'm doing that along with Dylan's 456, and so take a look at his video. I'll put a link to his channel. He will be also posting his thoughts of whether it should belong in the National Film Registry. And so let's start with all three of these movies. The first one is called Seven Samurai. It's directed by Akira Kurosawa, and this is the movie that kind of started it all. It is a challenging film to watch. It's really probably only for the serious film goer. It's probably not for the average one who's just looking for entertainment in their films, even though it is very entertaining. It's 3.5 hours long, so it's an epic film. It's kind of like Ben-Hur in that way, but I think it earns its epicness. It's really interesting because all three of these films all have the basic story of a group of persecuted villagers that need protection, and they seek out these people that will help them. And in Seven Samurai, the interesting thing is that you spend so much time with each one of these seven samurai that are gathered, and you get to see a lot of sort of the dynamics between the samurai who are in a certain class and the farmers who are on a certain class. And so it's really a movie about kind of class warfare more than it is a shoot 'em up, hold 'em up kind of movie, but it is all of that as well. And you kind of get a little bit of everything in Seven Samurai. There's romance, there's comedy, there's action, there's tragedy, there's just a little bit of everything I said. And the cinematography is stunning. There's this amazing sequence in the last 30 minutes that is all in the pouring rain. And you, like I said, you really get to know each of these characters in a way that none of the other versions come close to, in my opinion. So for me, I think The Seven Samurai is the true classic. It is the true great movie of these three movies. And it's the one that I would give an A+ to. It is challenging though. It's all in Japanese, so you have to read the subtitles. And so it's just not going to be everyone's kind of cup of tea. And I've only seen 2 Kurosawa films. I've seen Seven Samurai now, and I've seen Throne of Blood. I think I like Throne of Blood a little bit better just because I'm such a Macbeth fan, but they're all great. So you definitely want to check out Akira Kurosawa's films. He's an amazing, amazing filmmaker that really gets into the heart of the characters that he's portraying, that he's showcasing, and you really see sort of their journey and like the emotion that they are feeling and going through. And he manages to show like a really complete person, which I appreciate. And so let's get into the 1960 version, where we get it transferred to the Old West. This is the Sturgis version of the story of the Seven Samurais. You have a great cast in this one. You've got Yul Brynner, you've got Steve McQueen, you've got Charles Bronson, and a whole wide array. And one of the things that this one does differently than Seven Samurai or the new version is that you have this Mexican village that is being taken over by bandits. And what this movie does, I think, really, really well is that it actually sort of shows both sides of the story. You see the reasons behind, because there's this man named Chico, one of the seven, who goes and sort of spies on the bandits' camp, and he learns that the reason why they're doing this is because his men are starving to death. And you get this real sense of just the misery of both the villagers and the misery of the bandits, and kind of why they're doing what they're doing. And so it's a lot more sort of, I think, interesting on that level than maybe the other bandits are in either of the other films. And you also get just this sense that the Magnificent Seven sort of realize kind of what they are doing, and that they are doing this because it's the right thing to do, more than because they are hired or because they are they have some position to uphold, like a samurai might or whatever. And there's this great scene where they're all eating this delicious meal of, I think it's like enchiladas or something, and they realize that that's like all, they realize that and they realize that that's like all the food the village has, that they're like eating everything. And so they stop and they go and they feed what was going to be for them to the villagers. And so I thought that was a really cool kind of scene to get you into a sense of sort of time and place of sort of why these bandits are doing what they're doing, why the villagers are doing what they're doing, and why these 7 are so needed. And you get a lot of time spent between the villagers and the Magnificent Seven. And you've got great charisma in each of these cast members. You have, of course, Yul Brynner is one of my favorite actors ever in Hollywood. He was just so unique and so different. Even the way that he talks, the sound of his voice is different. You know, Steve McQueen is always sort of captivating, and he just, you know, grabs the screen, and you know, everybody pretty much works. There are some caricatures of the Mexicans that are a little not great. And Chico has this romance with one of the Mexican girls, one of the villagers, and it's okay. You know, it's certainly nothing to the romance that's in Seven Samurai. It's not nearly as impactful or important or whatever. And so I think this is an entertaining movie. I think it's I'm no expert on Westerns. I think it's a decent movie. I think it has good performances. I think you get enough sort of backstory that it gives it some heft. And like I said, you do get to see inside the perspective of the bandits as well as the villagers, which I thought was kind of cool. So as far as should it be included in the National Film Registry, I am so unequipped to kind of answer that question because I just have not seen that many Westerns. So I don't know how this one really compares to lots of other Westerns. I don't think it's even close to as good as High Noon or to The Searchers. Both of those I think are much better Westerns. And you also have the Elmer Bernstein score, which is fabulous in this. Really, really good. I think that I guess if I was forced to say, I would say no, just because I think that Seven Samurai is so much better, and so why not include the better version of the story in the National Film Registry instead of this version of the story? But that's just my opinion. It's still really good. It's really solid. And give the 1960 Magnificent Seven a B. And then we're talking the 2016 version. In this version, they take the same story, of course, and what they do, though, is they make the bandits into just one bad, greedy capitalist guy named Bartholomew Bogue, and he just, like, wants the land of these settlers, and so he's just, like, willing to, like, shoot people in, and burn down this church and everything like that. I thought that was way over the top and really kind of boring and lame. And, you know, just especially in the 1960s when you get this like real relationship of, you get this real understanding of why the bandits are doing what they're doing. This was just like a Pocahontas, greedy, you know, money, that's all I want kind of bad guy played by Peter Sarsgaard. I thought he was a real miss. But aside from that, I do think it's a pretty entertaining movie. You have, in this case, Haley Bennett's character, whose husband is shot by Bogue, coming and gathering the men together, and you have really good charisma in this Seven. You've got Denzel Washington, who was great, very, 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 very captivating and just great. And you have Ethan Hawke, I thought was really good. And he's playing the Steve McQueen role, and I thought that you could kind of see the pain in his eyes, and yet there was a certain charm to him. I thought he did a good job with the character that he was given. I thought that Vincent D'Onofrio was really good. I really liked how diverse the cast was. Had kind of a bunch of different, you know, ethnicities and styles to the cast, and I thought they were all done well, and nothing was sort of racially insensitive, I guess, about it. It sort of all worked, and they all had good chemistry. But the thing that will be the big deal breaker for this movie is probably the most violent PG-13 movie I've ever seen. There are probably 250 people that get killed in this movie. And the fact that it got a PG-13 to me is just insane and shows how ridiculous the MPAA is. But people are just like shot in cold blood. People are there. You see arrows go through people. You see explosions. You see, I mean, it is extremely, extremely violent. And so if you don't like that kind of thing, if you can't get into that kind of an action scene where a lot of people die, then you're not going to like this movie. It is very overwhelming almost to a certain extent. And the last 15 minutes are just like a pure battle scene. And I thought it was actually pretty entertaining. I really did. But it's not for everyone, that's for sure. And it's not bloody, so I guess that's how they got rid of the R rating, which is stupid that makes something R rated if you see blood. But yeah, it's extremely violent. But if you like that kind of thing, then you'll like the movie. If you don't, then you probably won't. But it does have great charisma from all of the cast, even if the dialogue is kind of dopey that they're given. So overall, I actually enjoyed it pretty well. I gave it a B-. It's not quite as good as the 1960 version, but I don't think the difference is that huge. It actually follows a pretty similar plot structure, and except for the villain. The villain's the big difference, and that's a pretty big problem. So those are those three movies. I would say that the best is definitely Seven Samurai, then 1960, then the new one, but I don't think any of them are terrible. I think they're all entertaining in their own way. So let me know what you think of these three movies, and do you think that the 1960 film belongs in the National Film Registry? Put your comments down below, and thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you later. Bye!